Okay, guys, welcome back to Let's Get Freaky podcast. I am very excited to welcome two awesome guests tonight. We have got Jeannie and Dale with us. How are you guys? Welcome to Let's Get Freaky.
Hey, we are
Thanks, thanks for having us,
wonderful.
Tommy.
Thank you, Tommy, for having us, and we want to thank your guests for tuning in and listening to what we have to say about the paranormal. And we hope that our stories will help other people out there to understand the paranormal a little better.
Well, we are excited to have you, so thank you for being here.
And we want to give a big Texas welcome to your audience.
Yeah, yeehaw, let's
Yeah.
go. I was just about to ask where you guys are based. What part of Texas are you? I know Texas is very big. What part of Texas are you based in?
Fort Worth area, the heart
Nice.
of Texas.
Yeah, so a lot of history, a lot of spooky history there as well. I hear a lot of stuff
Yes,
coming
sir.
out of Texas.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. We have quite a bit. But what we're going to talk about tonight on your program is something that happened to us at the Jefferson Hotel in Jefferson, Texas, where Dale was physically attacked by a spirit.
Whoa, attacked. Man, I
Yes.
mean that's the thing with this stuff. It's very interesting. I love it. I've had a lot of experiences myself, but there's also a very dangerous side to this, the
Yes,
paranormal
it
world.
is.
And
I
I'm
found
sure
that. Yes, sir.
we're gonna hear about that tonight for sure. I'd like to go to the start for both of you, where it all started for you, how you got into the paranormal, and yeah, what is your journey into the paranormal?
Well, I'll begin. My first experience with the paranormal was when I was a child. And it started at when I was an adolescent, and I started having where strange things happen to me, and they were things that were unexplainable. And I thought, well, I've got to ask my mom and dad about this because I'm not sure what's going on. I know I'm not hearing things or seeing things, and so I went to my mother because I could hear. I was living in Key West, Florida at the time. My father's was in the military, and we were based in Key West, Florida, and we were living on a military base, and I could hear children playing outside. I could hear them on their bicycles. I could hear their balls bouncing. I mean, they were out there playing and laughing. And this was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and it woke me up. And I would raise up and look out the window, thinking, well, what are they doing outside? And there wouldn't be anyone out there. So I thought, well, okay. And so I slid back down into my bed, started to go back to sleep, and I heard it again. And I thought, I'm going to be a little faster this time. I'm going to jump up and see if I can catch them. Again, nothing, still as possible, quiet, no one outside, and just very quiet and peaceful and dark. And I thought, I know I heard the kids playing outside. So I went to my mother and I told my mother about it. And my mother said, well, Jeannie, you're going through adolescence, and you have a very wide imagination. And so she made me believe that it was my wild imagination during the time of adolescence, which I later found out was not true. But I believed my mother. But then I discovered the reason why she told me that is because my mother had gifts as well and had experiences as well as my grandmother. But back during the time that they lived, it was taboo to talk about the paranormal because people frowned upon that. It was socially unacceptable, and they would ostracize you, or they would say that you're the crazy neighbor downstairs, or down the road. Watch out for those people because they're crazy. They see things, they hear things. And so my mother did it to protect me. And so that's why I lived until I was old enough to realize that it was no longer my growing pains, my active imagination, that it was actually something else that was going on in my life. And because of it, I then started seeing spirit. I started hearing them. They started touching me. And then I knew, now I'm an adult and I know that this is not childhood activity. This is now happening to me as an adult. And so I knew then that something else was going on. And that's what got me involved in the paranormal.
Interesting. I think it's something we all take for granted now, how openly we can talk about this stuff. You know, we got podcasts, we got TV shows where we can openly talk about it. And I think most people will agree now that there's a lot more going on. What it quite is, we don't know, and we're trying to work it out. But to go back to the times, like the experiences that I've had, like if I feel like if I couldn't tell anyone, that would be that would be sad and scary, man. So we're quite lucky now that we can share and that we're all learning and we're all finding out that we all have quite similar experiences, that we're not crazy. Some people might think we're crazy, but you know, on the whole, I think most people could admit now that there is more going on.
Yes.
So we're quite lucky.
And I've had people tell me, I live in a brand new house and it can't be haunted. And I have to explain to them, yes, it can, because the house is built on a piece of property land, that someone lived there. Things happened long before your house was put there. And you're probably having residual haunts. There's no telling what could be happening. But I tell everybody when they say, well, there's no way that my house is haunted, or there's no way that I'm having any experience. And I said, well, you're lucky if you're not having any experiences. But I can tell you right now that the paranormal is there. It's all around us. It's everywhere you go. Nobody is free from it. No home is free from it. Every home has something.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will say, no, that's not right. That's not right. I said, yeah, it is, because you have to remember the land is a lot older. And there's a lot that happened on that property before you had that house built on there.
Do you think some people can switch it off? I think that can block it out. I think some people can. Like if you
Yes.
don't believe it, because I feel there's something to believing it and accepting it that makes you have more experiences. That's just what I think.
Exactly. I have a friend. She's my best friend, and she is gifted as well in the paranormal, but she's afraid of it, and she blocks it out, and she doesn't want anything to do with it. But yet, spirit will still come around her and still let her know that they know she's in tune to it, because she's got a bright aura around her. And everyone's born with an aura, but some people have auras that are a lot brighter and wider. And she happens to have one of those, but she's scared of it. And she will try to do everything possible not to encounter it, but it finds her every time.
Yeah. There's no escape in the paranormal. Yeah.
No, there's none.
So when you was a little girl and you was hearing the kids playing outside, I mean, that's scary. For me, that is scary, because I don't know what it is about kid ghosts, but they really freak me out. Like there's something very scary about that. Did you see anything as a child, or was it just the hearing it?
Well, I did see something in that same room. I woke up in the middle of the night, and in the corner, I saw this really huge black thing hovering in the corner. And I didn't know what it was. And I'm just laying there in the bed, and I'm trying to focus my eyes and trying to figure out what it is. And I thought, well, maybe it's a stuffed animal, because I did have a lot of large stuffed animals in the room. And I thought, well, maybe it's a stuffed animal. And I kept focusing on it. And I could not wrap my brain around what it was. And so I'm laying there and I'm thinking, should I get up? But there was something that made me afraid, and I was covered in chills. And suddenly I had this horrible pain on my leg. And I reached under the covers and I could feel a large scratch down my leg, and it was bleeding.
Oh, wow.
And I raised the covers off and I raced out of that room and I ran into my parents' room and I said, Mama, Daddy, there's something in my room. I said, I got scratched. Something scratched me. Well, again, my mother said, no, you did it yourself. You probably were asleep and you reached down and scratched your leg and you were the one. You did it. I did not do it. I had no clue what did that, but something in my room scratched me. And I believe it was that dark thing that was hovering in the corner of my room. So I didn't want to go back in that room again after that. So we had another spare bedroom. It was a guest bedroom. And I asked my parents if I could move in there. I moved into that room. I never had another problem. Not another problem, but there was something about that room. And when I did go back and look with my parents, because they let me stay in the room with them that night because they knew I was visibly upset and shaking and didn't want to go back in the room because I was very frightened. And the next morning we go into the room. My mom says, come on, Jeannie, we're just going to go back. We want you to see there's nothing to it. We go back in the room and there's nothing in that corner. No stuffed animal, no clothing, nothing was in that corner.
Whoa. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember what shape it was? Could you make
Yes, it was in the shape of what looked kind of like, and this makes no sense, but it was in the shape of a dog. It looked like a dog.
Whoa. Well, a big dog? Was it like
It was a big dog, and it was solid black. And that's what alerted me because it was blacker than the night.
Yeah.
That's what made it stand out to me because it was blacker than the night. Well, now that I'm an adult, I have since seen black shadow people, and they are not good people. And I had a standoff with one in a house, and it stood in front of me, and it was challenging me, and I saw it, and I thought it was a real person in the dark because the lights were off, and I thought it was a real person, and I thought I was about to bump into a real person, and I went, oh, like that, and then I realized there it stood. It had no features. You could see the outline of the head, the shoulders, the arms, the legs, but no clothing, no features, no hair. It was completely a black shadow. And I knew what it was when I saw it, and I ignored it, and I walked right around it, and I let it know I was not going to be challenged by it, and I walked completely around it.
Wow, you're braver
And
than
I
me.
had seen, and in this house, I've seen it twice. I saw it running from one room to another. And I'm not the only one that has seen it. Other paranormal investigators have seen it as well in this particular house in Jefferson, Texas.
Wow.
And I will not reveal that house because I have a very good friend who lives in it, and I don't think she'd want me to give out the name of the house.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, for sure. Man, I've seen shadow figures, and as you say, darker than the dark is how the best way to describe them because they stand out in a dark room. Like it's the only way to describe it. Man,
And they're
those,
frightening. They are
yeah,
very frightening.
for sure.
And what makes them so scary is because they have no facial features.
Yeah, you
They have
can't make
nothing.
out.
There's
Yeah.
nothing on them that lets you know what gender they are, or the age. There's no way. They're just solid. They're a solid black mass.
What do you
And they're
think they
scary.
are?
I have no idea. I have talked to my other fellow paranormal investigators, and they have seen black shadow people as well. And I hate to use this word, but I've just been told that they're evil, that they're not spirits. They're either something that's been conjured, or they're from another world. They manifest for some odd reason. I have no idea, but they're not spirits of people who once lived.
Yeah.
Now that's what I've been told. I'm not sure, so I want to let your audience know I am no authority on it. If somebody out in the audience has an answer for me, I would really love to know if they've encountered the same thing, because this is something that I believe needs to be researched, because I am curious, but I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
Where do you start?
I don't think anyone does. So many people see these things, including myself. I speak to so many people that see shadow figures. They're so common, really, in the paranormal world. But yeah, I mean, still, obviously, some people have got some ideas of what these things are, but we don't really know. There's no definite answer, and I think there could be different types. You know, some say then they don't get a bad feeling when they see them and stuff like that. Some say they feed off our fear and things like they need our fear. That they're like energy snatchers or whatever. But yeah, they are scary, that's for sure.
And here's another thing, Tommy. They also climb walls. They climb walls. You can see them climbing up walls.
Have you seen that?
I have not, but some of my other paranormal friends who have gifts in other areas where they can actually see things, they have seen them climb the wall. They'll say, "Oh my gosh, it's right over there," and we'll all look, and I can't see it, but they can, and they say it's climbing up the wall, and it almost looks spider-like. Now, I have not seen it. I would love to, but I personally have not seen it in that form. I've only seen it in a human type form, where it had the head, the shoulders, the arms, the body. That's the only way I've seen it. And when it confronted me in this house, and I'll tell you quickly. I'm a school teacher by profession, and had a lot of school teachers who knew that I was a paranormal investigator, and they wanted me to take them to Jefferson to take them to this house, and they wanted to try their hand at it. They said, "We've never done this before, and we want to do it." And I said, "All right, let's do this." So we were in this room, and we turned off all the lights, and they were sitting around this desk, this table, and we had all the instruments all over the place. And I'd already taught them about the instruments and how they work. And I had them all seated, and this was an experience, the first experience for some of them, and so they were very scared and excited at the same time. And so I said, "Now let me go turn the lights out." Well, I was familiar with this house. I knew where the lights were. I told them to stay seated. I get up, I go to turn the light off, and when I turn, it's right there.
Whoa.
And I thought one of them had gotten up out of their seat, and I thought I was about to bump into one of them. And I went, "Oh," like this. And then I looked, and it was that black shadow that I had seen before running from one room to the other. It stood right there, like 2 feet away from me, looking. I mean, it was facing me off. Right there. And I knew when I saw it what it was, and I knew it had been that same one I'd seen before running from one room to the other. And I just thought, "Not today. You're not going to scare me." And I didn't want to say anything to my teacher friends, because I knew, had I told them, many of them would have said, "I'm not staying here tonight." So I walked around it. And when I walked back to the table, they said, "We heard you go, ah." And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I thought I was about to bump into a chair or something."
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I changed the subject.
Yeah.
Because
Wow.
I was afraid to tell them that there was a solid black shadow in the room with us.
Yeah. Did it disappear after that, or did it stay
It
there?
did. It did. It disappeared after that.
Wow.
But uh, I think it wanted to face off with me to make me fearful.
Hmm.
And I'm a pretty tough paranormal investigator.
Yeah, it
And
sounds like it.
no, you're not gonna, nah, not today.
You're braver than
They
me.
say, the old saying, not today, Satan.
Yeah. You're
And
braver
so
than me, that's for sure.
I just walked around her. And then I started telling the girls, okay, now here we go, let's get ready now.
Wow.
And I just completely got my mind off of it, and we never had anything happen after that. But there are also ghost children in this house, and having a group of school teachers there, a couple of them had their clothes tugged
Hmm.
by the little ghost children, and they would look at me and say, my something just tugged my shirt, like they were trying to pull it down. And I told them, I said, well, you just encountered a child apparition. And I said these children probably know we're school teachers.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so and school
Wow.
teachers are protector of children, and being a school teacher myself, I do encounter many apparition children.
Hmm. They can
On
they get that good energy, and they come to you.
they do, and they feel safe around me, and they like my hair, and I don't know if it's because it's big hair from Texas or the blonde or what, but I can feel them reach up and touch my hair.
Mhm.
So they
Wow.
like that too. And yeah, but it's all in good fun. They're just showing their affection.
Hmm.
It has nothing to do with them trying to scare you or anything like that. And they're just sweet children in spirit state.
Hmm. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Going back to that the dog entity in your room. You know,
Hmm.
I know in Texas and obviously around the world we've got this the dog man law. I don't know what you
Oh,
guys think on cryptids and stuff like that, but some say, and I think possibly there's a supernatural element to these things. Did it did
hmm.
it did it look like an actual like a dog, or did it look like a human type dog? Or can you remember how it looked?
It from the shape of it, it looked like a huge black, possibly German Shepherd wolf type.
Whoa. See, that's like the dog man. That's
Uh-uh.
that's why I'm thinking dog man.
No, I've never heard of it. This
Wow.
is the first time.
I've got to send you some podcasts to listen to.
Now, where did the dog man come from? Where did the
Well,
dog?
the dogma, I mean, a lot of people claim to see these creatures. Some say they're flesh and blood, and some say that they're supernatural. It's hard to tell. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on Bigfoot and stuff like that. I'm very much
Mhm.
into that sort of stuff as well.
Right,
Um,
right,
but yeah, I don't know. That's just what I thought when you was explaining it. I was seeing because a lot of people see stuff like that, and
right,
is it
right.
is it
Well,
possibly?
it is strange. It does, and it does pique my interest.
Yeah.
Now it does, because I didn't know that there was something like this that has existed in the paranormal world. This is new to me.
Oh
So now
wow.
I'm now interested, and I now
Yeah.
want to research
I've just I've
and
just
find
I've
out
just
more
sent you
about
down another rabbit hole right now. I've just sent you down another.
it. You really
But
did, because I will not quit till I find out more about
yeah,
this. That's the way I
because
am.
you
And
said
being
about
a
the
school
scratching as
teacher,
well. The fact that this thing
and it
scratched you,
scratched me.
that's
Yeah.
in, and a lot of these time these things are perceived as evil. They're not good things. They're not,
Hmm.
Right.
Right.
it's
Yeah.
not a good omen, or these are not bad stuff. Normally happens with these entities, whatever they are. So it's very interesting.
Yes, yes, and I also, when I was a child, lived in Europe, and I
Oh
lived in
wow,
I lived in Hanau, Germany, and Darmstadt, Germany. My father was in the military, so I have traveled the world extensively,
wow.
and I had paranormal activity also as a child in the housing that used to be the Nazi barracks for the Nazi soldiers in Darmstadt. And they were military housing for USA military people. They have since closed down, but we were staying in one of the military housing on the third floor. And I had strange things happen to me in there as well. And we could hear whispers. I could hear whispers. And my mother even said one time, and this stuck in my mind, she says, I heard you singing in your sleep last night, Jeannie. And she says, you were singing in German. And
Whoa.
I said, no, I was not. I said, I can speak a little German, but not enough to sing a whole song. And she said, well, I could hear it. She said, you were in there and you were whispering and you were singing and it sounded like German. And I said, it wasn't me, but I also heard whispering in there as well. But
Whoa.
I thought it was my mom and dad down the hallway talking. I didn't put the German military Nazi soldiers in that mix because I was too young. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't really know that much about the Holocaust and about that. I'd heard about it and read about the Diary of Anne Frank, and but I didn't really know enough to understand what that the whispers meant or what was said, nor could I repeat it. But it happened, and it happened in those military housing barracks, and so that happened to me as a child as well. And my mother heard it too. So that was verification that she also heard what I heard, but she thought it was me.
Wow.
She thought I was in there singing and whispering and it wasn't.
Oh,
it
that's
wasn't.
wild. So when you was younger, obviously you was told that what you were seeing and hearing wasn't real, and it was child in your imagination and stuff like that. When did you start to realize that no, this was real? I am seeing this stuff, and was there an instant change once you opened up to it?
Yes. I was living in El Paso, Texas at the time, and living in a beautiful adobe home that was a southwestern style home, and had a beautiful pool in the backyard. And the backyard was park-like. It was just absolutely gorgeous, and that's what sold me on the house. and so I bought the house, and I started become I was afraid of the pool for some reason. Every time I would start to go out to the pool, I started having what felt like heart palpitations, shortness of breath. I felt like I was having an anxiety attack. And I'm thinking, why am I feeling this way? I was afraid to get in the pool. And every time I would try to go to the pool, something would stop me because I was so in fear of it. And so, to make a long story short, I was in my room one night and I had a teacher's meeting the next morning. So I had to turn in early to be there at this 8 o'clock meeting. And I was tossing and turning, couldn't make myself go to sleep. And I had a little dog named Hamlet, and he's a little schnauzer. And he was laying at the foot of my bed. And suddenly I heard what sounded like the door opening, because I had the door shut, the bedroom door shut, sounded like the door open. And I turned to look, and my little dog Hamlet was raised up, ears up, pointed back, and he was looking at something. And I looked to see what he was looking at, and there was a child. And it was a little girl, and she was see-through, and she had her little fingers over the foot of my bed, and she was looking over at Hamlet, my dog, and she was looking at him, and she was giggling, and I saw her, and you could see through her, but you could see the shape of her hair. She had long curly hair. She had these big eyes and just the cutest little thing. And I think she even had what looked like a ribbon in her hair, but she was just adorable. And I looked, and I'm looking at this child in my room, and she's see-through, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe what I'm seeing. It scared me. And I rolled over and I started saying the Lord's Prayer. And I started saying, please, God, make it go away. Please make it go away. Please make it go away. I was so frightened and so scared by what I saw. And I was shaking like a leaf, and I was paralyzed with fear. And then I got the nerve to roll back over and look, and she was gone. I found out why I was afraid of the pool. And the person who owned the house before me was a pool owner, and he had his own pool business, and his own child drowned in that pool.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow.
I get very emotional talking about it, because I saw that little girl, and she's there. She is there.
Oh
yeah.
man. Wow.
Yeah.
Was that the first time you'd seen an apparition?
That was my very first apparition to see in my whole life. And that is what started all of this. Yeah. I knew then that I had to explore into this and find out more about it, because why did she show herself to me? She showed herself. And that was why I was so afraid of getting in the pool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so interesting, man.
Now, I had no idea that there had been a drowning in that pool, because when I bought the house, that was not disclosed.
Yeah.
They should have told me that there had been a drowning in the pool.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell me.
Wow.
And I had a lot of other things happen in that house too, and I couldn't understand what was going on. A lot of things. I even heard my grand piano playing one time. I was in the back room, and I heard and I was the only one in the house. I heard the keys playing.
Whoa.
And I go in there, and nothing. I even had a light that had a pull chain on it. Just come on. For no reason, just the light came on. I had a china cabinet. The door would open all the time, and it was latched with a key. And I would get up in the morning, and that china cabinet door would be wide open.
Wow.
And I could not figure out what it was, who it was, but I knew the house was haunted. I knew it. And I thought, this has to do with why I'm so fearful of the pool, because I could go to other people's pool and not feel that way. Because I love swimming pools. Yeah. And I could go to other people's pools and not get that feeling. It was that particular one. Wow. And then that's when I found out. And when I found out that a child, a little girl, about 3 years old, had fallen into the pool and drowned, and it was the pool owner's daughter, that's when I knew. I knew that was why I was fearful of the pool. And I honestly believe she was the one that was tinkering on the piano keys. She was turning the lights on and off. She was opening the cabinet doors.
Yeah. Man, that's wild. Wow. And then obviously you experience something like that, and it's undeniable then. There's no doubt in your mind.
I told Dale, I said that changed my life. And that's what and that's what I want to tell your audience. It's so compelling and so profound that when it happens, you will never be the same person again. Never. Yeah. Your life has changed, and you see the world in a whole different light.
Yeah. Because suddenly everything is possible, Yes. When you're open to this stuff, anything's possible. Man.
Yes. Yeah.
Dale, what is your story, brother? Let's go to the start for you.
My first that I understood and realized, I guess it happened about 5 years ago. and I was in the house that I grew up in, and I was here alone, and I was in the bathroom, uh, and the light started flickering in there, and they never had done that before or since. And I heard a man's voice in the house, and it was coming like from the kitchen side of the house. And it was a male voice, but I couldn't make out whose voice it was, and or could I not? I couldn't make out the words either. Uh, and then the lights just continued to flicker, and then I have got in my bedroom on the nightstand on either side of my bed alarm clock radios, and neither one of them were set to go off. They were both in the off position, and both of them, for no apparent reason, while these lights were flickering, and when I heard this man's voice, both of them came on full blast and blared. And I ran in there, I toggled to get it to go off. It was already in the off position, so I turned it on. I turned it in all the positions that the radio could go in, and I could not get it to turn off. And it was two separate radios doing this, one on either side of the bed. I literally had to unplug those radios to get them to stop.
Whoa.
So after that experience, I knew somebody that I was talking with at the moment that was into the paranormal, and I talked to them about it, and they had told me that that's your father. And coincidentally, my father did pass away in this house, and they said that's your father, and it really turned my life around. It made me a believer.
Wow. So he was just trying to communicate with you.
Evidently, and let me know that he's around, I guess.
Yeah.
And then so I asked the girl that I had asked about, this happening, what she thought about it. And I said, could I ask him to come back? Would he be able to do that again? And I asked him like questions. And she said, well, usually whenever they come through the electricity like that it takes a lot of power from them, takes a lot of their energy, that you probably wouldn't get it to come back immediately. So I went back in there and I was looking up at the lights, and I asked, I said, if this is my father, can you please blink the lights again? And not like before, but they blinked just a little bit. Okay. And sure enough, it was an indication of I'm trying, but I can't quite do it this time. So what she said was spot on about it.
Wow, man.
And then as Jeannie and I have been together, and her being into the paranormal, I've gotten into doing what she does, which is ghost hunting.
Yeah, you've got no choice now.
Right. And I've seen some compelling evidence there, and I've actually had physical evidence towards me that definitely would back it up that it's real. It's real.
Wow, and I would like to add that his dad is here. His dad is in this house.
Okay.
Because he has flickered the lights for me as well. And I can hear him. I can hear his footsteps. I know he's here. I can feel his presence. And when I told Dale, I said, because Dale said, well, why is he here? And I said, only God knows that. I don't have answers for that. I said, only God knows the answer to that. Why they're able to stay earthbound? Are they able to travel back and forth? Why is it that they're here? I don't know the answer to that. I can only assume that he is watching over Dale.
And we've listened on the ghost box and to see if anyone was here, and we didn't say anyone's name or anything. In fact, we turned on the recorder as we did it, and we didn't say anything. We let it speak for itself, say whatever it wanted to say without us saying, we're here, can you speak, or anything like that. And he clearly said who he was, not only by name, but by my father.
Wow.
And he clearly said my name.
Wow.
With no questions asked.
Yep. And that verified it, because I kept telling him, your father is here.
Yeah.
In fact, he's probably listening to this interview.
Yeah. Wow.
And I will tell you this, Tommy. I noticed the light flickered over in the corner of the room when we were talking about this.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool,
Did you
man.
see the light flicker right over there in the corner?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool. I mean, especially
Yeah,
with,
it
with
is
with the
cool.
voice boxes when you hear names and stuff like that. I mean, when it's a name that is obviously your dad's name and your name, like how can you explain that? Like, how can
Right.
anyone deny that? You know?
Nobody
Yeah.
else would know, right?
Yeah,
Right.
100%.
Right.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So that
And
first ex
people have asked me about this being a paranormal investigator. They ask me, why are they earthbound? Don't they go to heaven? And I tell them I would love to be able to answer that for you. I said, but only God knows that. I
Mhm,
said, I don't know why they're here. I said, maybe when we go to the other side, we'll find out more.
mhm.
Maybe we're granted passageway. Maybe we're granted that we can come back and forth, especially when a loved one is worried about something or
Mhm.
needing us. Do you see the light flicker?
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
this light is flickering over here
Is letting
as
us
I'm
know.
talking about it.
And it's not a light
That's wild.
that normally flickers either.
See, I have to say,
Whenever
I don't believe in
whenever I had that
coincidences anymore.
when I had that one experience where the radios, alarm clock radios, had went off in the room after the light flickering and me hearing a male voice, I started YouTubing what happens to people when they die and are brought back. What do they experience? And it's almost unanimous that people are like in an ER surgery room, and they die on the table, and they all picture their bodies going up to the corner and looking down on them and what the doctors are doing, and they
Mhm,
all describe a white light. Some of them actually went for the white light and went up into it and described what they found there, and then others were just stayed in the room hovering over themselves.
mhm.
And whenever the doctor brought them back to life, whether it was from CPR or whatever, they went back into their body and was able to explain everything that had happened to them while they were legally dead.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And so there's just, you know, a lot of those that are on there, just
Mhm.
hundreds
mhm.
of them. And I
Right.
Yeah,
started reading it and I'm like, wow, it's
Yeah.
it is wild
Well,
because so
why?
many people experience the same
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
So,
And
uh,
then I have had people question my Christianity. And I tell everybody, I said, I am a Christian. I believe in God.
mhm.
I am surrounded by the white light of Jesus, and He is my protector. And, but yes,
It's doing it
they
again.
do. Yeah. Uh-huh. They
Wow.
do. But spirits are here.
Mhm,
But let me explain to your audience, we don't know why. Sometimes they do tell us when we have the ghost box out, we'll ask them, why are you here? Some of them will ask for help. We don't know why they were earthbound. We've people have theories for it. Maybe a tragic accident happened and they didn't see the light and didn't go to the light. But there have been incidents where somebody pictured what looked like a spirit leaving a wreck, and you can see this white mist leaving the wreck where the individual was in the
mhm.
in the wreck, and you see it going straight up in the air,
Yeah,
and it was not the smoke. And
yeah.
so what caused, we don't know.
I mean, I wonder if
And
it's possible that they're in. Like, obviously, the other side is completely different to what we know. And is
right.
it possible that they're in both worlds at all times? I don't know. That's just a theory.
what like kind of what after watching those YouTube videos of people that died and brought back to life, and some of them went to the light and some didn't. They stuck around and can tell the doctor everything they did on their body while they were legally dead.
Right.
Mhm,
And so I think some go to the light, and maybe the ones that do possibly are the ones that are not still on the earth and roaming the earth
mhm.
uh,
Right.
as a ghost or whatever you would refer to them as.
Mhm.
It's just ones that just didn't go to the light, possibly.
And a
Yeah.
lot of them will ask me, why are there so many children earthbound, and asking for help, or where's my mommy? I don't have answers for that. Now, I do know that back during the Victorian days, people died at home.
Hmm.
Just like they were born at home, they died at home. And they believed that when somebody was about to die, they covered all the mirrors. And they would cover all the mirrors so that the spirit, when it left the body, would not get the reflection of the mirror mixed up with the light that takes you to heaven. So they
Interesting.
would cover all the mirrors in the room so that the spirit would not go into the mirror. But what's interesting, Tommy, is we have caught many spirits in mirrors. Now,
Wow. Yeah.
explain that.
And or in
Yeah.
pictures captured in a
Yeah.
picture that you didn't see and or hear. If you do the recording of a video, a lot of times you'll hear things that you didn't pick up with
Hmm.
before,
Yeah.
by
Yeah. You hear
the
that a
mirror.
lot.
But
Yeah.
the most interesting thing that I encountered was what recently happened to Dale. When we went to the Jefferson Hotel, which is my favorite place,
Love it.
and anybody, your audience members listening, if you ever come to the United States, go to Jefferson, Texas, stay at the Jefferson Hotel.
Oh yeah.
It's
I'm coming.
fabulous.
I'm coming.
Yes, you need, and you let us know because we want to be there
Yeah.
when you and your wife
100%.
come because we want
Yeah.
to be there.
That'd be amazing.
And but I never knew that spirit could physically attack you until it happened to Dale. And I'd like Dale to tell you that story and tell your audience members. I would not have believed it had I not seen it for myself. And so I'll begin the story. About 5 years ago, I was doing an investigation at the Jefferson Hotel, and I came across a spirit by the name of Nick. Well, Nick is not a good spirit. He was not a good man in when he was alive, and like they say, if you're a bad person in life, you're probably going to be a bad person, a bad spirit too. And the Jefferson Hotel was once a factory, and they hired a lot of little children before the child labor law was enacted. And the reason why they had children working in these factories was because of their small hands. And they could stick their hand in between metal and machinery that was broken down. They could reach in there and get things and move things uh, more so than an adult hand, which is a lot larger.
Hmm.
So they used these children at these factories. Well, in this in all the years of investigating Nick, I have found out that he was 25 years old. He worked at the factory and he took advantage of these children. And when I say advantage, I mean in the worst way. And so there is a room at the Jefferson Hotel called the Doll Room, and
Hmm.
it's got hundreds and hundreds of dolls, and many of them are haunted. And it's the least rented room because everyone's afraid of dolls. Nobody wants to be in a room where they're being stared at
For
all night
sure.
by dolls. And so this happens to be the spirit, Nick's favorite room. And why? Because the dolls draw children, the spirit children. And so Nick does not like me because I'm a school teacher. I've called him out. I know that he was a child molester. And I told him, I'm a school teacher. I'm a protector of children. You need to leave the children alone. You need to stop what you're doing. I said, what you're doing is not right. And he doesn't like me, and he likes to call me bad names, especially the B word. He calls me that all the time on the spirit box. And he knows when I arrive at the Jefferson Hotel, he knows I'm there. So I took Dale and I told Dale, I said, we're going to stay in the doll room, which is probably Nick's favorite room. And I said, you'll probably meet Nick because I can always tell when he comes in the room. I feel his presence. I can feel him. I know he's there. I get this heaviness. It's like a tightening in the chest. And it's almost like a sick feeling in your stomach. and I get chill bumps. I can tell he's in there.
Mhm.
And I told Dale, I said, he's here. And you can also hear him walking. And Dale was amazed because this was his first time at the Jefferson Hotel and the first time he's ever witnessed anything like this. So Dale said, I'm just going to have a talk with Nick. Well, I didn't know what he was going to do. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dale.
Well, I called him out, told him, you're big, bad man picking on little kids and women. Won't you try me on? Take me on. I was calling him out. And Jeannie kept telling me, no, Dale, don't do that. No, you don't do that. Of course, I'd already did it. And then we shortly thereafter went to sleep. And I was awakened sometime in the middle of the night and I could not breathe. And I had my hands grasped around my throat, it wasn't like I was choking on anything. I just couldn't breathe. I ended up on all fours in the floor, and Jeannie had her phone in her hand. 611 already dialed. All she had to do was push send.
911.
She was thinking, or 911, and she was thinking that I was having a heart attack or a stroke or something like that.
And that's the first thing I do. I don't go to paranormal right away. I was thinking he was physically ill, that he was actually having a heart attack. And then I get these visions in my head, and he popped in my head. That evilness, that Nick popped in my head.
Could you see him?
And
Can you see what he looks like?
him. I don't see him. It's like I see the name. It's like it's there. I can see it and feel it. And I said, Dale, it's Nick. And then I took over and I started saying, stop it, Nick. I said, release him, let him go. I said, please do not do this. And I said, we are sorry if we provoked you, we didn't mean to. If we disrespected you, we didn't mean to. Please do not do this to Dale. You've got to leave him alone. And he did. He released him as soon as I said that.
And I mean, I was without being able to take any air in for at least 2 minutes. I was at the point of passing out.
Wow.
I could not breathe. I could barely even get out that I can't breathe.
Right.
It was all I could do to struggle just to say I can't breathe.
So I asked Dale to apologize to Nick, and Dale refused. And I said, well, I'll do it for you. So I apologized to Nick. Well, 2 weeks later, we go back to the Jefferson Hotel. We stay in another room called the Speakeasy Room. And we're thinking everything's cool, but I could still feel Nick. I knew he was there, but I didn't quite feel the anger. And we go in that room, and now it's late, and we're going to sleep.
Well, tell the audience what you heard.
So in the middle of the night, I hear Dale talking in his sleep, and he's shouting. Usually when people talk in their sleep, it's kind of muted. And he's shouting. And he said, you already know. And then he said, I told you. I love you. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, is he losing his mind? What in the heck?
Was that the first time he had done that?
I was getting afraid of him. And then the next thing, he starts choking again, grabbing his throat, raising up out of the bed, can't breathe, falling on the floor, gasping for air. And I knew it was Nick. And I said, Nick, stop. I said, you got to stop. Please do not do this to him. Please, I already apologized to you. You've got to stop. And he did. So then Dale recovers and he gets back in the bed.
Yep.
And he said, he did it again. And I said, yep, he did, Dale. And I said, but let me tell you something else you did. I said, you said something weird. I said, the first thing you said, I already told you, you already know I love you. I said, what were you talking about? He says, I don't remember any of that. I said, you don't remember saying any of that in your sleep? Not any of it. He says, no, I didn't even know I talked out loud in my sleep. He says, so how do you know it's Nick? I said, let's get the spirit box out and let's do it. So I got, and here's the one thing I regret not doing. We didn't record it.
Yeah, we should have recorded
But
that.
he was so upset and I was upset. And so the first thing I did is I turned the ghost box on and I said, Nick, are you here? Yes.
Oh man.
And I said, why did you attack Dale? I already told you. I said, you already told me what? You already know exactly what Dale had said. And I said, I already know what? I love you.
Wow.
It was exactly what came out of Dale's mouth. Exactly. And Dale and I are looking at each other. We cannot believe what we're hearing. And I said, why are you doing this? Hurt. I said, why do you want to hurt him? Kill.
Yep.
Man.
So he literally in my sleep takes my body over, evidently.
He took, and you know, I know some of your viewers will know what I'm talking about. There are spirits that can jump your body.
Yeah,
They
for
can
sure.
get inside you and speak out of you.
Yeah. Overtake it. Yeah, for sure.
And I think that's what happened to Dale. I
That
think that
is
he was
wild.
jumped. He's never been jumped before. I've never been with anybody that was jumped before. I know I've heard that can be a very dangerous thing to happen, but when it happens, you don't know it's happening until it does. And I'm telling you, I told Dale, I said, I don't know what we're going to do about this. I said, this has got to stop. I said, we cannot be fearful of coming to the Jefferson Hotel
Yeah.
because this is my favorite hotel and I don't want to be afraid of it.
Yeah.
And so I again apologized to Nick. I told him to stop. And then I said, Dale, would you please say you're sorry? Will you please talk to him and say you're sorry? And he did. He said, I'm sorry, Nick. I really didn't mean to get you upset. I didn't mean to provoke you. I won't do it again. Please forgive me. So a few weeks ago, we go back and we're doing the flashlight method. So we've got the flashlight and we're going to communicate. First thing I said, and we're in the doll room, I said, Nick, are you here? Flashlight comes on. I said, thank you, Nick. Can you please turn it off? Turns it off on cue. We have this on video.
Yeah, we do. We did record all this.
I said, have you forgiven Dale? Flashlight didn't come on. I said, are you going to forgive Dale? Flashlight didn't come on. I said, are you still mad at Dale? Flashlight came on.
Oh man.
And we had stayed there a couple of times before the times that she's talking about. That was during HH&L. And I didn't even tell Jeannie I did it, but before I went to sleep, that third time that I had stayed there and the fourth, I prayed silently that we'd be protected and that Nick not bother us. And he didn't.
He didn't.
So
that's the power of prayer.
Yes.
100%.
And I want to tell your audience that if you're ever in fear, don't let them know it. Do not let any spirit know that you are in fear because they consider that a weakness and they're going to play with you. They're going to come at you.
Yeah.
If you're ever in fear, say the Lord's Prayer out loud. and say it several times, and then say, leave me alone. You cannot touch me. I have the white light of God all over me. I am protected, and you cannot touch me. And then you just roll over and go to bed and go to sleep.
It really tends to work.
And it works.
Yeah. Wow. Man. That is wild. That is wild.
Isn't it?
So,
So
this,
we've learned to record a lot more than we had been because of stuff that we've experienced. We'd have loved to have some of that on film, but
yeah.
Yeah.
we've got some.
Do you put this stuff out? Do you put it out on YouTube, or is there a place people can see this yet? Or
Oh, we
We don't
can.
personally.
We've never done YouTube. I don't know how to do it, but
you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
if you'll show me how, we can put the video of us talking to Nick, and
Yeah.
he's responding with that flashlight on cue.
Yep.
He turns it on,
It's amazing.
and when I ask him to please turn it off, he turns it off on cue. So the flashlight is a great paranormal investigative tool to use. So,
Yeah.
but don't get the kind that you push. Get the kind that turns. That you turn the front of it.
Twist to turn on.
It twists.
Mhm.
Get that
put
one.
put it just to where it's in the off position or just in the on position, and then set it down and let them
Let them manipulate it.
let them be the manipulator.
Mhm.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah, we've had a lot. We've had a lot happen to us.
Yeah.
A lot.
Super
And
interesting.
but Dale's getting better at it. He's becoming more aware.
Yeah.
He's understanding a lot more, and he's also learned from me and my team. And I'm a member of the Para Hunters out of Denton, Texas, and Teal Gray is our leader, and just love her to pieces.
She's awesome.
Love
Yeah,
her,
she's
love her,
been on
love
the
her.
show. She's been on the
Yeah,
podcast. She's
and
awesome.
great
Yeah.
author. Oh my gosh, she has some of the most wonderful books
Yeah.
about the paranormal. So I encourage your guests to read some of Teal Gray's books. Tui Snyder, she has some books out. There's Martha Hazard, she has books. Jamie Moss and Susan Hill, they have a book out about haunted dolls that is
Interesting.
also interesting.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother topic that we can talk about, is haunted dolls. And another topic that we can talk about someday on your show is guardian angels do exist. My life has been changed and saved 3 times by guardian angels. I'm here
Wow.
because of my guardian angel, and this is why I wear this necklace of the guardian angel wings.
Okay. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
see it? That's in honor of my guardian angels who have protected me, because I have lived through 3 instances that I should not be here today. I should not even be here. And it's absolutely incredible. The stories are incredible, and they do exist. So
Have we
guardian angels
have
do
we got
exist.
time for that now, or is that for another day, or have we got time?
Oh, that's up to you, Tommy.
Well, I've got
That's
the time. I feel like I've got to know now. I can't end it on that. I feel.
well, back when I was about 16 years old, I was living in Darmstadt. My dad being in the military, my mother also a school teacher, and we were living in the housing area in Darmstadt. And the only thing for American children to do at the time was to go on base. Well, the base was about, probably a mile and a half from the housing area. And so it was quite a trek to get to the base. And the only thing we could do on base was go to the movies. That was the only entertainment they had. So being teenagers, we always liked to take a shortcut through the woods. And part of that shortcut meant that we had to pass over train tracks. And then next to the train tracks was a freeway. like a 4 lane freeway right next to it. And so, and we did some terrible things. We jaywalked. And so we would jaywalk across the freeway, over the railroad tracks, and then through the woods that some of the GIs had made a path through and up to the military base to go to the movies. And we would take that same path coming back after the movies when it was dark. So we had done this 100 times, and we were standing on the railroad tracks, and we were waiting for there to be a break in the traffic for us to jaywalk across back over to the housing area. So we're standing on the railroad tracks that we had done 100 times. We had done this 100 times and never had an incident, not one incident. And so while we're standing there, we're horse playing and cutting up, and you know how teenagers do while they're waiting for a break. They're kicking each other, tagging each other, pushing, and doing all kinds of crazy things. And so I happened to be standing more in the middle of the track, and they were more over to one side. And I was closest to I was in the middle of the track, closest to the freeway. And they were almost in the middle of the track, but they were still on the side where the woods and the path was. And so we're standing there, and suddenly we hear this loud horn. And I look up, and when I look up, this big round yellow light is in my face, this close, looking right at me, and I'm blinded, completely blinded, and I freeze because I can't see, and I'm blinded, and now I'm just frozen to the ground, and I can't move. And someone comes in and picks me up and moves me over to the side of the train, on the side where the freeway was, where there was only about maybe 2 feet of sidewalk right here between the traffic and the train. And it hovers over me, and it bends me over, and it's holding me and hovering over me like this. And I can feel the train whipping my jacket. It was winter. Wow. And it was whipping my jacket. And I looked up, and I could see the lights on in the train, and I could see the people, but their faces were blurred because of the speed it was going. Wow. And it's holding me. And Tommy, I had this overwhelming peacefulness come over me, just come over me. I was not afraid. I felt like I was in a different world, like I was in the arms of peacefulness and somebody that was protecting me. And as soon as the train passed, I heard all these screams. And I look over, and it's my friends. They just knew that I had been hit and I was dead. And they could not believe me. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. There I stood. And they're looking at me, and they come and they grab me, and they are hugging me and holding me and asking me, "How are you hurt? What happened? How did you get out of the middle of the train track? What happened?" And I said, "Well, someone picked me up and moved me, picked me up off the ground and moved me." And they said, Who picked you up? Who did that?" And I said, "I don't know." I said, "But it had the feel of a man." like it was a male person.
Mhm.
And I said, and you didn't see anybody? And they said, no, we thought you were dead. We thought you got hit. We
Oh
were
man.
screaming. I mean, they were beside themselves. They were bawling, crying because they knew I'd just been hit. And had I gotten hit, uh, I would have been unrecognizable. It would
Yeah.
have just torn me completely up.
Oh
And, and we looked and we never saw anybody. There was nobody there. No one. And if somebody had picked me up, they had to have had superhuman abilities to do it. They
mhm.
couldn't have done it. They would not have had the time. They
And
would not have had the
and
time.
you felt someone move you.
I felt lifted up off the
That's
ground
wild.
and moved over to the side. And I could see the lights of the traffic, the cars going by. And I could see the train going this way and the traffic and my coat being whipped by the wind of the train. And
Wow.
like I said, I could see the blurred faces of the people sitting in the train with the light on inside the train. I saw all that.
That's wild.
Now, if somebody had just saved somebody's life, wouldn't they have stayed to make sure that I was
100%.
okay? They would
Yeah.
have said, "Oh my gosh, that was close. Don't ever do that again. I'm so glad that you're okay." And
Yeah. And they
there
would have been
was
risking their life as well doing that,
right.
obviously. Man, did you see anything? Did you
No,
see? You just
nope.
felt it.
I felt it,
That's
and
incredible.
it is real.
Yeah.
It is real because I am proof of it. I am absolute proof of it
Wow.
that they exist.
That's wild.
Yeah. So, and that was just one. And the other one happened when, and this is really strange. Okay, we leave Germany and we're sent back to the States to live. And my dad is being stationed in El Paso, Texas. So I'm moving to a new town, and I'm going to start college at UTEP, the University of Texas at El Paso. And I've got the summer, and I'm so excited. And we're going to live with relatives until we buy a house. And my relatives had kids my age that were going to go to college with me. Well, they had all graduated from high school just at that time, and they one of them was a varsity cheerleader, and she had a lot of football guy friends, and so they said, hey, let's go to the movies and let's go riding around. And that was the thing that teenagers did back then. We got in cars, we drove around, we went to the movies, we went to parks, we did all kinds of things. So we go to this park, and there's a guy, a man, an older man out there with a dune buggy, and he's got a big flag on the dune buggy. Well, we get out of the cars and the football players go running across, and they said, hey dude, let's ride your dune buggy. And they start jumping all over his dune buggy. And he's good with it. He's riding them around the park. And I'm getting the idea that they're friends. I'm thinking they know the guy. And so when their ride was over, I wanted to ride. And I said, I'd love to ride your dune buggy. And the guy said, well, come on, get in. And I got in next to him. I expected the others to jump on the back. They didn't. I'm by myself with this man. And he drives me around the park 2 times, and then off we go. And he takes me out of that neighborhood, away from the park. He takes me down the highway, and I'm looking and I'm saying, wow. So where are we going now? And he says, I want to show you something. And I said, oh, okay. Is it too much further? And he says, no, you'll like it. I mean, very monotone voice, no personality. And I'm in this dune buggy, and this man is taking me, and we go out of the city limits. And now we're away from all the businesses. We're away from all the neighborhoods. We are driving down a dark road. And then he takes off into the darkness of the desert. And we go flying through the desert over the sand dunes, and I'm just pretending to be enjoying myself, and I'm laughing, and I'm thinking, what is this man going to do? Why is he bringing me out here? And all I could see were the lights of El Paso way off in the distance, and I'm out in the middle of the darkness, in the middle of the desert, in nowhere, with this strange man in this dune buggy. And then suddenly he stops the dune buggy, and he gets real quiet. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, this is not good. I'm in a really bad situation now. And a little voice, I could hear this little voice in my ear. And it told me, start talking. So I started talking, and I said, you know what? I hope you don't mind me telling you my problems right now. I said, I just moved here from Germany with my family. My daddy's in the military. My mom's a school teacher. I have a little sister. I said, and I moved to this brand new city that I don't know anyone. And I said, and I'm having the hardest time being accepted by people. And I said, I just don't know what I'm going to do. Do you have any advice for me? I said, I feel ostracized. I said, my heart is broken. And I said, is there something wrong with me? I said, do I not appeal to these guys? I can't even get a date. Nobody wants to date me. I said, I just don't know what to do. And I said, I'm just heartbroken. And I said, am I ugly? What is wrong? Why would I not be attractive to other people that would want to be my friend or want to date me or go out with me? And I said, my cousin, she's a varsity cheerleader. She's real popular. She's got all these friends. And I said, I can't compete with that. I just can't compete. And then I started crying. And I said, I really need some advice. I need some help. I really do, because I'm so upset. And I said, I just don't feel like I'm worthy. And he hasn't said a word to me since we left the park. And he turns and looks at me and he says, you're fine. You don't let those people bother you. You hear me? And I said, I won't. And he started up the dune buggy, and he took me back to the park.
Wow.
By this time, all my relatives and all their friends, they had already called the cops saying that I've been taken by this strange man. They hadn't seen me in like an hour and a half. They don't know where I am. And at this time, there were a lot of murders happening to young girls in El Paso, and they were finding their bodies out in the desert.
Oh my.
And yeah, and he brought me back, and as soon as he dropped me off, he took off and never saw the man again. Never saw him again. And they were asking me, what happened? What did he do to you? Where did you go? And I said, I said, did you guys even know this man? And they said, no, we didn't even know him. He was just some guy here tonight with a dune buggy, and we just thought it'd be fun to jump on it and ride. That we didn't know that guy. And I said, wait, and I told them what he did, that he took me out in the middle of the desert where nobody could have heard me scream. Nobody would have come to my aid. Nobody could have found me. But I
Wow.
want you to know, Tommy, my guardian angel was there with me because I never lost my cool. I
Mhm.
never got scared. I never screamed. I never said, take me back. I never said, what are you doing? I want to go back. Leave me alone. Why are you doing this? I treated him like a human. I treated him like I felt that he was the only person that could guide me and treat me with the utmost respect, and that I trusted him, and that I thought that he would be the one that would help me solve my problems. And I think the reason why I did that is because my guardian angel guided me to do that. Told me,
Wow.
work on his sympathy, work
Yeah.
on him, make him feel human. Don't make him think you're afraid, that you think he's going to do anything other than just be a nice guy to you. Just keep your cool, be calm. God's got this. And he did.
Wow.
He did.
Wow. Because in that situation, obviously his intentions don't seem good. To take a young girl out to the middle of the desert, that's just that's not normal. And any, his intentions are not good. And you've switched a switch in his mind, and as you say, made him feel human. And that's
Right.
wild,
Yeah.
terrifying.
It
Well,
was terrifying. And I was
wow.
scared. I was scared out of my mind. But again, I got this overwhelming peacefulness that came over me. And I
Mhm.
was told, treat him like a human, make him feel like he is something to you
Mhm.
and not someone who's going to harm you, but make him feel that you trust him,
Yeah.
and that you believe that if anybody can give you the best advice, it's him. And you do that to him, and then he's not going to want to hurt you.
Mhm. How old did you say he was? Was he like?
He was a much older guy. He looked like he was probably 50, maybe somewhere between 40 and 50, and I was only 17.
Oh man.
I was getting ready to start college. Can you imagine how all my parents' lives would change after that,
Mhm.
had something terrible like that had
Yeah.
happened to
Yeah.
me?
Yeah. And did you say that this was something that happened? It was a common thing, and
Oh yeah.
you could have been
Yeah,
another.
if you look back on the history of El Paso, there were a string of girls who were murdered and found buried in the desert.
They even made a movie about it, didn't they?
Yeah, they had made a movie about these girls that had been
Wow.
abducted and disappeared. I mean, just completely disappeared for months and months, and nobody knew where they were.
Yeah.
And then one day somebody's out exploring in the desert, and they see something, and
Wow.
it happens to be the girl that they had been looking for. Of course, her body was completely decomposed, and they had to do a DNA and that sort of thing on the
Mhm.
on the bones and the teeth. And um, but there was a whole string of girls. There must have been something like 20, 30 girls,
And I mean, he possibly could have been
and he could
one
have
of the
been the
people
guy.
that were doing that. Yeah.
He
Oh
could have
my
been the guy.
gosh.
Yep.
Wow. I mean,
And
that is,
here I was I was just new to El Paso. I just moved from Germany to El Paso, and I was getting ready to start college at UTEP when that happened. And I'll tell you, Tommy, it makes you change how you feel about things. And
Mhm.
and God is real.
Mhm.
Angels are real. They're there. And then
Wow.
the last one that happened to me, I'd never gone kayaking or canoeing before. And so one of my teacher friends invited me to go out on a canoe uh, on the Caddo Lake. And she says, "Oh, it's so easy. There's nothing to it. You don't really have to do anything. You just glide." And it glides you all the way down the river. And she just made it seem like it was so calm. Well, I can't swim. I love pools. I can dog paddle. But if you put me out in a lake and I fall in the middle of the lake and I can't touch the ground, I'm
Hmm.
going to panic. And so I told her, I said, "Are you positive this is going to be easy to do? Because I don't do well in water when things overturn." She says, "No, you'll do fine." So we go and we find this place, and we were supposed to do the tubing, but they didn't want us to take the tubing, which should have been my number one red flag. Because I said, "Why can't we do the tubing?" "Well, the water's kind of high, and so all we're going to do is let the kayaks go out, the canoes go out. That's all we're going to let go out." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "Well, that's too bad because I had my heart set on the tubing, but that'll be fine. We'll do fine." So then I said, and I saw these life jackets hanging on the rack. And I said, "Can I have a life jacket?" And one of the guys laughed at me and he says, "The water's not that deep." I said, "I know, but trust me, I really do believe I need a life jacket." And I said, "Holly, I think you need to get one too." And Holly says, "Okay, all right. If you want to get a life jacket, we'll get life jackets." So we put on life jackets. So the two of us get on this canoe. She's up front, I'm in the back. We get our oars. I've never done this before, so she's teaching me how to do the oars. We get out, and it is absolutely beautiful. The nature is absolutely beautiful. The water is blue. It is the sky. Everything was absolutely gorgeous. And through the trip, Holly told me, now once in a while we're going to come up on some rapids, and they can be pretty rough. She says all you do is just go with the flow. If the canoe goes this way, you go this way. If it goes that way, you go that way. And she said, "But keep your oar in the water, and keep moving your oar." And I okay. But she was in the lead. The person up front in the canoe is the one that really does all the most of the steering. And so I said, "Okay, I got this." Well, I was fooled by how it looked in the beginning. So when we hit the first rapid, yeah, it was a little rough, but it was fun. It's like being on like a little rocking chair.
Hmm.
And then suddenly the sky got dark and the wind started whipping up. The trees were swaying. There was a lot of wind, and the waves started getting big. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, something's not right here. And I said, "Holly, I'm scared." I said, "It looks like we're getting a storm." And she says, "Well, let's get to the next place where we can get off, and we'll steer over to the side, and we'll quit. We'll get off." And so we're trying to get to a safe place. And before we know it, we're coming up to this horrible rapid. And it is so bad, Tommy. It is so horrendous. And I'm looking at her and I'm saying, "Holly, I don't think we can do this. I don't think we're going to make it." And she says, "Just don't panic. Don't panic." And we get into the rapids, and the boat is jostling around. And then the next thing I know, we flip. And we flip, and I'm going underwater, and I'm losing my bearings. I don't know which end is up or down. But what saved me was the life jacket. It popped me up. Thank God I had that on. Popped me up. So I can't feel the ground, and the rapids thrust me into an old tree trunk that had fallen years ago and was out in the middle of the lake. And the rapids threw me into the trunk of this huge tree, and I'm hanging on, and it's slippery from the slime that has built up on the trunk of the tree. And I'm holding on, and the canoe is now overturned, and the rapids has moved it, and it's beating me on my back and thrusting me more into the tree trunk. So I am caught between the tree trunk and the canoe, and the rapids are picking up, and every time that canoe threw me into the tree trunk, it was hurting my chest, and I couldn't stop it, and nobody could get to me, and I'm hanging on, and I'm thinking I'm going to slip off. My hands cannot hold on to this slippery stuff on the tree trunk, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm feeling I can't feel the ground, and then I suddenly felt a branch under the water, and I put my foot on it, and I pivoted on that, and I'm holding on, and there are people around the banks, and they're watching, but they can't get to me. And they're telling me, do this, do that. I said, I can't. I said, I don't know what to do. I can't move. This canoe is hitting me in my back, and it's hurting me. And I said, I need help. Please help me. Next thing I know, there is this woman. She comes up, and she's in the rapids. She's wearing what looks like a blue bathing suit, and she's got black hair, and it's pulled back in a ponytail, and she's in the middle of the rapids, not having a problem at all, and she moves the canoe off of me, and I'm looking at her, and I'm saying, thank you, and I'm crying at this point. And I said, thank you, I can't swim. And I said, thank you, I'm so scared. I said, I don't want to drown, thank you. And I said, please get me help. She never looked at me. I could see the side of her face, but she never made eye contact with me, nor did she answer me or say anything to me. I just thought, okay, at least she got the canoe off of me. That's all I cared about, is that she got the canoe off of me. So now the canoe's gone, and I'm hanging on for dear life, and the rapids are getting worse. If I let go, I could be swept up underneath the trunk of that tree. It would catch, the branches under there would catch me and drown me. I would be caught and trapped, and I would drown.
Man. Yeah.
So I'm hanging on for dear life, and I'm screaming at this point, and I'm begging for help. I'm begging for help, and I'm screaming. Holly was down at the end closer to the water, and she let go, and the rapids took her downstream. I was in the worst part. There was no letting go and going down the stream. If I let go, I was going under the trunk of the tree. I had no other way to go. And I could see all these people, and they're just looking at me with these desperate eyes, and nobody can help me. And everybody's just there. I can hear them screaming, somebody else, get over there, help her. Nobody wanted to take a chance of going through the rapids, because then they're putting their lives in danger, and they don't want to be swept away. And so finally, these two teenage boys, they finally decided that they were going to chance it. So they got their canoe, and they came out on their canoe, and their canoe overturned, but they got over enough to get closer to me. They climb up on the tree trunk, and they come, and they're having to inch their way down the tree trunk because of the slipperiness. and they're inching their way down, and they're looking, and I'm looking at them and I'm begging them, please help me, please help me. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Please help me. And they kept saying, ma'am, we're going to do everything we can. We're going to do everything we can. So they finally get in front of me, and I'm looking up at them, and they're standing on the tree trunk, and they said, give us your hands. And I said, I can't let go. I said, if I let go, I'll get swept under. I can't let go. They said, you're going to have to trust us. Give us your hands. So I let go with one hand, and I gave it to one of the boys. And the other boy said, give me your other hand. Please give me your other hand. And I said, but I'm soaking wet. I said, I don't think you can pull me up. I've got this life jacket on. I said, I don't think you can do it. They said, please trust us. And I just said, I said, God, please help me. And I let go, and I put my hands up, and those boys picked me up out of that water and got me to safety.
Wow.
So as soon as I collected myself and knew that I was safe, I said, where's the lady in the blue bathing suit that removed the canoe? And they said, oh, what lady that moved the canoe? I said, there was a lady in the middle of the rapids, and she moved the canoe off of me. They said, we didn't see any lady in the middle of the rapids moving a canoe. I said, well, then we've got a drowning. I said, if she's not around, she drowned. I said, she's gone, and we're going to have to find her. I said, she had her hair pulled back in a black hair ponytail, aqua blue bathing suit. And I said, we're going to have to find her, because I saw her. I said, I looked at her. I talked to her. She's out here somewhere. And they just kept looking at me. And I think they thought I was in shock. And so as soon as I got to safety, I told them, I said, we're going to have to find this lady. And they kept telling me that we didn't see any lady. And I said, okay, well, I said, I've described her to you. And she was out there. I said, you really do need to think about dragging the lake and trying to find her. So we get back up. This lady gave us a ride back to where we rented the canoe. She had to take us all the way back up to that spot where we started. So she took us in her truck. And the one thing that I remember, when I was in the truck, I was in the back seat. Holly and I were in the back seat, and she was up front with her son. And hanging from her rearview mirror was a set of angel wings, hanging right there in her rearview mirror. And I'm looking at those, and I'm thinking, okay, yes, you saved me again. And I am most thankful, and I'm saying my prayers, and I'm thanking God. So we get up to where we rented, and the two guys are there. I'm very angry at this point. So I go up there, and I said, did y'all know a storm was coming? They said, yeah, but we didn't know it was going to be this quick. I said, I want you to know I nearly lost my life. I said, I nearly drowned. And I said, because you should have closed this down. The first hint you got of any kind of bad weather coming, you don't rent a canoe, especially to women that don't know how to swim. Mm-hmm. I said, you should have shut it down. And I said, I'm very angry about this. And they were apologetic. Oh, we're sorry. And they said, by the way, where is the canoe? I said, the canoe is over in a section where there's a cove, and there's a tree trunk in the middle. And this guy, his eyes get as wide as saucers. He's looking at me, and he's saying, you mean the cove where there's a huge tree trunk, and it's right there in the middle of the rapids? I said, yes. I said, that's where your canoe is. And he said, I know exactly what you're talking about. And I said, why are you looking at me like that? Because he looked pale. He had these wide eyes. I could tell something was wrong. And I looked at him and I said, I said, why are you looking at me that way? He says, well, don't tell my boss. He says, but I'll tell you something that happened. He said somebody drowned in that exact spot. I said, what? He said, yeah. He says, about 5 years ago, there was a senior class trip, and they decided for their senior trip, they wanted to go canoeing on the Caddo Lake. And a whole class went. And one of the girls, her canoe overturned, and she was hanging on to that tree branch, that trunk, but she lost her life and she drowned.
Oh, man.
In the exact same spot. And I said, do you remember? I said, do you know who the girl was? No, we don't remember the girl's name or anything. So at this point, I am in shock. And I'm thinking, I could have drowned just like that girl did in that very same spot. And then I started thinking of the girl in the blue bathing suit. And I thought, could that have been her? So when I got home, I Googled that drowning at the Caddo Lake 5 years ago, which now would have been 7. And it showed the picture of the girl, and it was her.
Oh,
It was
wow. Wow.
I get really upset about this because I saw her. I saw her.
Wow.
And she
Wow.
must protect that part of the lake. I don't know. I don't know, Tommy. I don't know. But and so I called my best friend, and I was on the phone. I could barely talk. I was crying, and I was telling her, and I said, I found the picture of the girl, and it's the girl that was in the lake that took the canoe off of me. She took the canoe off of me. She saved my
Wow.
life, taking the canoe off of me. Yep, it was her.
That is amazing.
Yep, yep.
Wow.
So
Man.
they exist 3
Mhm.
times in my life, and that's why
Wow.
I wear my guardian angel wings,
Yeah.
because I have been saved 3 times.
Wow.
And I'm very thankful to my guardian angels and to her, and just I'm blessed. I'm very blessed, and I thank God so much.
Thank you so
So
much for sharing that. Wow.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
That's amazing.
I don't talk about that much because it does upset me still, because it's so vivid in my mind because I
Hmm.
can still see her.
Yeah.
And it I've talked to other close friends of mine and asked, why do you suppose she wouldn't look at me? And they said that they have read stories of guardian angels saving other people, and they don't look at them for some reason.
Interesting.
You'll see the side of their face, but they
Hmm.
will not look at you in the eye. They will not look at you.
Was she like a
I don't.
solid form? Was she a solid
Huh?
form? Was she like a solid form?
She was in solid form. Solid form. Yep.
Wow.
Hmm.
Well, that
And
makes sense. What?
how in the world did she do so well in those rapids?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, it did not affect her at all.
Hmm.
She should have been swept down that lake. And she was able to move through those rapids with no problem and move that heavy canoe off of me by herself.
Wow.
And
That's wild.
no one helped her. And then nobody saw her. Nobody knew who I was talking about. And I kept insisting to find her, find her. I said, there, we've got a drowning. There, she must have drowned. Somebody had to have seen her. I couldn't have been the only one who saw her.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
and I was.
That must have been wild seeing that picture and getting that confirmation that that's the girl
Oh,
that you
and when
saw.
I saw that, I just burst into tears. I just burst into tears, and and it's still, I'm very emotional about it. And I'm sure that her family would, I don't know how they would feel about that. I've not even thought about contacting and saying anything to them, because I don't know how someone would react for, about something so tragic that happened to them, losing their daughter. And then I come around and say, I saw your daughter. You just don't know how they would feel about that.
Yeah.
And so,
Wow.
so I just keep it.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible.
Wow.
So
Guys,
I'm very blessed,
for
Tommy.
sure, for sure. Guys, I've loved talking to you tonight. Your experiences have blown me away. Super interesting. Thank you so much.
Well, we
Yeah.
have enjoyed this so much, and if you're ever in Jefferson, you and your
Yeah, I'm
wife and
coming.
children, please
100%.
contact us and
I
let
will.
us know, because we would love to meet you there, and we'd love to introduce you to the owners of our favorite hotel, and that's Pam and Jeremy Jones. And they are also paranormal investigators.
Awesome.
And when the hotel went under, it was vacant for about 6 years, and we didn't know what was going to happen to it. And Pam and Jeremy, being um, um, paranormal investigators, they said, we're going to buy this. We love this hotel. We want to buy
Wow.
a haunted hotel. They bought it, and they have revived it, and it is one of the most fascinating hotels you will ever see, and active.
That's
Very different.
awesome.
Very different.
I'm coming. I'm
It's like
coming
the
over.
whole thing is like a museum. There's just stuff everywhere that they decorate with up and down the hallways, and the rooms have different themes, and just really
Awesome.
awesome. Something you won't find it anywhere else.
Yeah. I'm coming, guys. 100%.
Yeah.
You've sold it to
Google
me.
Jefferson Hotel. Google it,
I
and
will.
they
Yeah.
they have like a virtual tour on their website,
Oh,
and
wow.
you can see what it looks like.
I'll add that
But
to the show description as well, so the listeners can go and find that easily. Wow.
yes,
And it was
Awesome.
built in the mid 1800s, I think 1852, if I remember right, is when it was originally
Wow.
built. So,
yeah, and it's been a lot of different things, but it was a factory, and that's where Nick came from. Came from the
Interesting.
factory. Hmm.
Interesting, guys. Well, you live in a cool area full of cool history. I'm coming over there for sure. 100%. Thank you
Yeah,
so
we
much
would
for
love to
tonight. And
have you. Well, thank you, Tommy, and this has been a pleasure
absolutely.
and an honor.
it's
And
an honor to have you guys. Thank you.
you are such an amazing host, and we
Oh,
appreciate
thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you. Can you tell the listeners where they can find you guys if they want to reach out and ask you any more questions or?
I'm on Facebook.
Hunters.
I'm also with the Para Hunters.
Hmm.
It's capital Para, and then Hunters, capital Hunters, Para Hunters, in Texas, specifically Denton, Texas. And we have some amazing people on the team, and they can also reach us through through the website there as well. But they can also look me up. I'm on Facebook, Jeannie Van Hoose, and they can reach me there if they have any questions, or maybe they can give me some answers to some of the things that I asked about, like the wolf dog. And
Yeah, you've got to
you
look
know,
into the dog man now.
I am going to
That's your
look into
next.
the dog man for sure.
I want to come
Yes.
back and talk to you about
Absolutely.
We'll
that.
love it. We'll love it. Well,
Awesome.
Tommy, thank you so
Thank you
much. And
so
thank
much,
you for
guys.
devoting so much time to
No,
us.
anytime. I'd
We
love to talk to you
appreciate
guys
it.
again. You're welcome back anytime. So thank
Well,
you.
you just let us know. We'll be here. We've got more stories.
Let's go.
All right.
Guys, thank you so much for listening. We hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you have, share it where you can. That's a great way to support us. And we'll be back very soon for more freaky conversations. In the meantime, stay safe and keep it freaky. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. God bless. Thank you.
God bless.